Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Happy birthday to me, and thanks for tuning in to today's episode. This is where we build a pile of tubes and plates into a chassis fit for a racing machine. Sort of. I'm Pete. I've been crashing, repairing, modifying and selling all sorts of vehicles over the past 20 years. All of the work that you see on my channel, I do myself, and it's in my humble little garage at the end of my driveway. There are no super expensive tools in my workshop, and sometimes I have to make things happen with the trusty hammer and a grinder. You will see what I mean as I get on the channel. So let's get down to business and take a look at how the chassis build came together. So you'll remember from the last episode we start with the build sheet, and this is where we understand the measurements of the mower before and after we make the modifications. With all the steel tubing laid out roughly in the way that I want to build the chassis, something's actually occurred to me. I've never done any welding before. Maybe I need a welder. So after a little research, I settled on the Sealy Super MIG 130. It's at the lower end of the features and price range, but I'm a novice, so hopefully this will get me where I need to be. And what do you know, a few welds and tweaks of the settings, and actually I think I'm pretty much ready to crack on and give this a whirl. I will cover this setup and how I learned to weld in a separate video, but it took about 4 hours. The first welds on the chassis then are at the front, and what you'll notice here is there is good heat dissipation across the panel on both sides of the weld, and on the edges of the weld it looks like it's almost wet, and that just tells you that the metal flowed really well. So this is a good weld. And with confidence high, I went right ahead and welded in the two main chassis rails that run front to back on the chassis. So this still looks scary, there's a lot of work to do here, but I think I'm just going to start at the back, go one piece at a time and see how I go. So the rear wheel carriers then start at this sheet of steel, and we just cut it out and take it from there. A key part of the transmission is the T-drive, and we need to make sure we fit the rear axle through the T-drive correctly, so that it sits square and there's very little vibration and movement. With the T-drive now fitted to the axle and the end plate slid on the end of the axle bar, we can now start to mock up some of the other chassis components and start to weld them in. And here we are, just a few hours later, and you can now see that the rear drivetrain is fitted into the chassis, and that chassis is pretty solid. But what we can now do is go on and make some refinements. And dropping the mudguards closer to the rear wheels, that is going to give us a racier look, which we're definitely looking for. With the rear in good shape, we turn our attention to the front cross member. This is quite a substantial size because of all the loads and forces of the turning wheels, and of course the ground that we're racing on is never going to be very smooth and soft. caster angle allows us to balance steering effort, high speed stability and front end cornering effectiveness. So increasing the amount of positive caster will increase the steering effort and straight line tracking, and as well it does improve high speed stability and how we go around the corner. In my case I chose 10 degrees of positive caster. And there we have it, the basic chassis is now built. I just couldn't resist on clamping some of these panels together so I can get a look at what is it going to look like when it's finished. Lots and lots of work to do, but that's it for this one, folks. Okay, so that's the chassis in a rolling state, and next time we'll take a look at powertrain and brakes. Remember, if you like the content on my channel, please hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be alerted when new content goes live, hit the bell button and get that notification. Meantime, feel free to leave comments and suggestions down below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.